Hey everybody, welcome to episode 50. It's the big 50. It's kind of crazy. I can't believe I already hit episode 50. I've been blathering on for 50 hours pretty much. But today's episode, I'm not going to do anything special, I guess. And maybe I'll do like the 100th. I'll do some special or something. But I don't know. I didn't really have a lot of time to put into thinking about a lot of this stuff. Like I said, a lot of the stuff is just right off the cuff, kind of what I'm thinking about. And today I'm gonna talk about another magazine from the 80s. Now, I did the Dragon magazine one, and people didn't really respond to it that well. Not a lot of people viewed it, and I'm curious to know, is it just that far out of the, the modern, zeitgeist, or is it, that's that far removed? I mean, Dungeons and Dragons seem to be pretty popular, but maybe Dragon magazine wasn't. Maybe I presented it kind of okay, I guess. But yeah, I just didn't see a lot of people jumping on watching the Dragons magazine. So this also might be a magazine that, like I said, this was huge in the 80s. I mean, it couldn't get any bigger than this magazine as far as the stuff we're talking about in the 80s. But maybe it's so far removed, from today's society that nobody, remembers. I mean, magazines in general are pretty much gone by the wayside because of, because of the internet. So I still see magazines on the rack at Barnes & Noble once in a blue moon I go to Barnes & Noble. So I would assume magazines are still kind of a thing, maybe it's just with older people, I don't know. But I want to talk about this one because this is worth, if you don't know about it, it's worth checking out. If you remember it, it might be nice to kind of go down, the memory lane with it. I don't have any copies of it. I don't know what happened. I only had a handful of copies left, and I don't know where they went. I used to have a couple of them, in the bathroom. I used to pull them out and read them, but then, of course, now you got a phone you can sit there and drop in the toilet instead of a magazine. So, it's still relevant today because I still periodically look at it, especially when I'm trying to remember something from that time period when it comes to science fiction film, TV, that whole thing. And that's pretty much what Starlog was. So before I get into that, though, let me do a little unboxing, and as I'll talk about, obviously, in their own episodes, but I got a shipment. 3 things came in the mail today, so I figured I'd open them up on camera so everybody can see those. I know what they are, but it's not like a mystery, although, sometimes you order so much from online that you forget what you order, and it's like Christmas. You're like, oh, I totally forgot I ordered this. It's like Christmas. Geez, they really packed this sucker in there. It's just a comic book, but they really weren't messing around. This one, got tape on it. They glued up. Assuming there's extra packing on the, maybe not on the inside, but there'd be an extra piece of cardboard. Hope they sent me the right one. Cover looks very similar to the other cover. I only got outer wrapping. No, that's number 1. Good. This is and this also probably might fall on deaf ears, but not only is Dirty Pair kind of seem like, nobody's really into it as far as anime, the datame and stuff from the 80s, but these specific comics, if anybody remembers Dirty Pair in the 80s as far as comics, they probably remember the what the heck's his name, Matt, I can't remember his name all of a sudden off the top of my head, a guy named Matt who did a comic, I think it was Dark Horse put it out, called Dirty Pair, or maybe it was Eclipse. Yeah, I think it was Eclipse, and it was a black and white, and it was an American guy who did his own kind of adventures of him, and he did a quasi-manga style, but not really, did his kind of his own thing. I want to call him Matt Howarth, but I don't think it was Matt Howarth. Anyways, these were really cool. I really love these. These are film comics. I'll pop this one. This is number 1. There's only 5 of these made for Dirty Pair. There weren't a lot of these made, period. I think 0083 for Gundam, and that's about it. and they got real nice high quality paper. I mean, this is the 80s too. High quality covers. You know, they got these kind of, it's a perfect condition, so I don't want to stretch it out too much, but um, you know, they kind of, it's a film comic. They use the film, you know, the film cells to make the comic, and I love that. I'm still trying to find the Rock and Rule and get a copy back of that. I've had it like twice. Once when it came out, once in like the 90s, but I'm trying to find it again. I need a copy of that. But yeah, it's I love when they do this. I still have my buddy's Akira um, little Japanese ones. They weren't in English. This is just obviously in English, and I got to give those back to him at some point. But one of the reasons I wanted this is now the original TV show. Now the OVA was it a 10 episode or 12, whatever the OVA was. That was translated into English, dubbed, and so was the movie, like Project Eden. And I really like the American voice actresses for that, for the two girls, especially Kay. I really like the girl who does Kay's voice. But what do you call it? They're gonna the TV show was never translated, and now there's a Kickstarter for it. $60 for the buy-in. I don't know if I'm gonna go for it. It gets you a copy of the whole TV show translated, but you know, I see it subtitled, but I kind of, I don't know, I read through it, I guess, when I watched it in the subtitles, but I'd rather just kind of look at the comic because I can look at the art closer than watching it on video. So I love film. I wish they'd make more of these, and they must be either too expensive, hard to get the rights. You know, this one's put out by Viz Comics, who did a lot of the anime stuff in the 80s and into the early 90s, but I don't know why they don't, maybe, I don't know, it just seems like, you know, they would sell like hotcakes if they did more of these, but maybe not. And this should be, I have 3 and 4, remember I showed you those I got, and then should be 1 and 2, that was 1, this should be 2, and then I've got issue 5 on the way I ordered that one after the fact, so I'll have all 5 of them, and there's issue 2 there. So again, I'm gonna read through them all and then just do a full episode on specifically these 5, and you know, and then talk a little bit more about Dirty Pair, one of my favorite animes, or probably one of my, it's my favorite. I think Robotech or Macross or whatever you want to call it. I like the Robotech version. He's still my favorite, but I think Dirty Pair is probably strong second. And here's one that I ordered. It's funny, this one was supposed to come last of the 4 things that I ordered for this. Where did the knife go? And it came first, which is kind of weird. So the other pieces haven't come yet. There's a shipment of 2, and then there's a shipment of 1. More still coming. So I can do my episode on this, and of course you'll know what it is once I see it. I'm just hoping it's in good condition, because this is not the best box. This is a brand new copy. This is a reissue. But there it is. It's the Flash Gordon soundtrack. So, again,
sorry, I don't know that.
Alexa, stop. Jeez. Yeah, she's always busting my balls. Anyways, so there it is. I'll hold it up because maybe this will be my title screen. Even though my title screen is supposed to be Starlog, maybe the Flash Gordon might get a few more eyeballs on it. I don't like to do clickbait, obviously, and this isn't clickbait, but, you know, I don't really have anything outside of I mean, I could put up the screen for the Starlog magazine, but I might still do that, I'm not sure. But, and I'll title it, you know, Starlog magazine, but, yeah, so I got this finally. I'll have to listen to this. There's the end of the movie when he jumps at the camera. I'll have to take a look. I mean, I've heard it. I had it on CD before. I've never had it on vinyl. But, and like I said, this is the brand new copy. It should be the 180 gram record. I wonder if it comes with an insert, you know, like a photo insert or whatever of it. So I've got this. I've got the movie itself on DVD. I could get, you know, I'm kind of sick of the Blu-rays. Not that I'm sick of them, but I'm just DVDs are so much easier to use, and they're cheaper. And like I said, does it really matter if it's 1080p over 720 or even 4K? I guess if I'm really gonna sit there and listen to it, but it's like this stuff, are these the best, for audio files? No, you spend more money, you get better stuff. But you know what? At a certain point, you got to do a cost analysis, and you got to think to yourself, okay, for how much I'm spending as opposed to how much enjoyment I'm getting out of this, if I spend 10 times the amount of money, am I going to enjoy it 10 times more? Maybe. Do I want to spend 10 times more money? Would I rather spend less money on one thing and then, obviously spread your money out and do other things, I think I'd rather, go in on the, the cheaper stuff, just so I can consume more. It's just like food. Do I want to spend, want filet mignon, or do I want, Salisbury steak? I'll take the Salisbury steak. Take the cube steak. I can get more of it. I don't know about now. Cube steak is unheard of, which is crazy. Cheapest steak they got, and it's super expensive. But yeah, hamburger steaks. Yeah, I'll take them. They're just food. I just eat it when I'm hungry. Sure, I enjoy a nice good meal or blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, I just want to eat, and I don't really pay for stuff and deal with bullshit. So, that's what I do. I've got my bass out. I put my classical guitar where I'm going to go to my bass for a little while and do some practicing. But I had some issues with the neck and the action on it, and some issues with everything on setting it up. And I've never set up a guitar myself. I kind of sort of did, but I usually botched it up. So, and I'm also trying to save myself a little money from setting it up and just learning how to do it myself. I've got the tools. I just got to learn how to do it right. So I'm in the process of setting that up. I started it and actually got it tweaked pretty good. And I've got most of the issues out of it, and I got the action back where I want it, and it stays in tune. So I'm going to just check it and just tweak it as I go. I saved myself some money there. Guitar Center, heck, they want like $75-$80 to do bass. They usually give you a new set of strings. If I buy a new set of strings for $20, there's a local record shop called Electric Kitchen, Bay City, and they do. He sets guitars up and he fixes turntables and stuff, and he does all that stuff. And apparently he'll do it for $20. He'll set stuff up for $20. He says that's with a set of strings on a guitar. Now, obviously, got to spend a little more for bass, so he might charge you $30. And he seems like a really nice guy. But before I do that, I want to see if I can figure out myself. I'm a tinkery kind of, do it yourself kind of person. So I'm gonna do that. But what I was make the comment was that's like an intermediate bass. It's like a $500 bass, and do I want to get a $1,500 bass? Sure, I'd love to have one. I'd love to have a that's a Spectre. I'd like to have a better Spectre. I'd like to have nice real Fender P bass. Even on the high-end Squire. There's a bunch of different ones I'd love to spend my money on. But you know what? That one, I love that. I've had that for 20 years now, and that's probably my 5th bass. It's the one I've kept the longest. And it's like I said, it's got a little bit of issues I'm trying to work out, but other than that, it still does me well. I'm not a professional musician. This is just a hobby back here. All the stuff back here is a hobby. The stuff I do for a living is different, but all this stuff is a hobby. My son's learning guitar, and he's amazing at it now, and so it's kind of a father and son thing to do. We do the music guitars, and we do, the record collecting, but that stuff's just a hobby. So, I'm sure I'd love to have, $5,000 bass, sure. I'm not going to go out and buy one. So, again, I thought to myself, I might even replace that since I was having trouble with it. Maybe I'll get another intermediate. It's like, do I, or or just get a cheap one, get a Squire P base for $200. It's just like, well, I don't know. Maybe I save some money and maybe I'm gonna fix my old one. I'm still have an attachment to it, so it still sounds amazing. I mean, it's got active EMG pickups in it. I mean, it sounds amazing. It's just the neck had some issues with it, and it might just been from sitting in a case for too long. Who knows? But yeah. So my point was that what was my point? So yeah, spending a lot of money to get something. So with the movies, do I want to spend a ton of money on Blu-rays or 4Ks or get the 4K? I mean, I have a 4K TV and I have a Blu-ray player, but um, I'll just take whatever. If I see the other thing about the DVD, I like the DVD covers better. I wish that the Blu-rays weren't blue. I wish they didn't have all the blue on them. I wish they were more. I wish it was more like the movie poster, like they used to do on video cassettes. Even some of the DVDs, they would come up with these like alternative images for the covers. Like, no, I don't want that. I want the movie poster, the quintessential movie poster you'd see. Now, this isn't the movie poster for this, but I want that, and I want that on my my media. So I got that coming, and that does have the movie poster on it. And then I've also got the storybook, which I've been wanting for a long time, and the novelization. So that stuff's all coming. So when it's here, I'll do that. So another what do you call it? A dedicated video to that. So that's the haul for today. Like I said, outside of the other Flash Gordon stuff coming, I think that's everything that I've got. I know they've got some more pre-orders, but they haven't shipped yet. So I think that's everything that's shipped that I've ordered. Oh no, I got the the Viz Comics also has a set of Lum. I ordered those. I'm trying a new place called mycomicshop.com. That's my first order from them to see how they do. It's a good price, and hopefully the comics are as near mint as they say they are. So we'll see when they get here. All right, so let's turn our attention over to Starlog magazine. So I'm gonna switch the camera. All right, so I have every Starlog magazine on CBR, which is kind of weird. I thought I could find them on PDF, but I found them on CBR instead, so I'll take it. Actually, I prefer the CBRs better. They're easy to work with. My Adobe sometimes ticks me off. Sometimes it gets retarded on me, so I'll stick to. I like the CBRs. Like I said, they're easier to do. Easier to save pages out of it and cut it apart, yada yada yada. So there's the first issue. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm just more curious to know what the date. I think it's 77 or 78. What was it? Where is the little blurb? This is 1976. Okay, stand corrected. So 1976 was the first issue of Starlog, and this is back when it was still all black and white. So the trick to Starlog is Bionic Woman. So Starlog basically covered everything science fiction, mostly science fiction, and a little bit of fantasy, but mostly science fiction, and for movies and television shows in this space, 1999. And it was a pretty comprehensive magazine. I mean, it was the quintessential magazine on the shelf. If you went to any bookstore, grocery store, 7-Eleven, you name it, chances are on the shelf they're going to have Starlog magazine. And it was that much of a staple. That's why I'm just surprised, if people don't really know what it is, I'm just surprised. Like, it was it was like People magazine or Time magazine. It might not have been that big, but I mean, for what it was, for its genre, it was the People magazine. It was the Time magazine of science fiction for the longest time, too. I'm starting in 76. It was right before Star Wars hit, and covered all that stuff from the 70s. Even covered older stuff. Obviously, they had to fill some pages, put Star Trek in here and stuff like that. Because 76 actually coincides technically when they started syndicating Star Trek. Because remember, Star Trek got canceled in the 60s after 3 seasons, and it really didn't become a cult classic or what we know today is people being Trekkies and going to Star Trek conventions. It really didn't happen until '76, right around there, when they started bringing they brought it back on reruns and played it more often, and the people it started to become a thing. That's when the first Star Trek conventions started. I mean, there'd been science fiction conventions before, but Star Trek was starting to get big. If you watch, like, there's an episode of the Toys Who Made Us, they talk about the Star Trek toys. They kind of go into that a bit. I'm sure there's countless other documentaries on Trekkies, and like there's one actually called Trekkies. But so this kind of, like I said, coincides with Star Trek. You know, there's the first episode there with Chris Pike. And you know, they kind of go. They even go to the animated TV show. So that was the first episode. You know, and they get, like I said, black and white photographs, which I love black and white photographs just for drawing purposes because they really get to see the contrast, and especially if you're drawing in pen and ink, you know, or even pencil, it really gives you, you know, seeing light and shadow is really something that's super beneficial to see. That's why a lot of people take black and white photographs to use as photo reference. You know, you use colored ones too, but black and white really gives you that stark contrast. That's kind of what, you know, especially when there's dramatic lighting, and it's pretty much the, you know, the fundamentals of noir cinema. But yeah, you got these full photographs, these full color photographs. You know, man, those skirts back then. So yeah, you also got to see these pictures and stuff. Like I said, this stuff was in '76 too. I mean, it was hard to find images like that. You know, nobody had a VCR in '76 to record this stuff. You know, home video and home media, you know, it wasn't really going to catch on much essentially till the '80s. I mean, sure, a few rich people had them in the late '70s, but pretty much that was a '90s or an '80s thing. So getting any of this stuff, I mean, like I said, this goes back to all that physical media I'm talking about, whether it's the storybooks, whether it's magazines, whether it's like the official movie magazines, which also, I don't know if they still make a lot of those. There's no good movies coming out, so there's no point to buy anything off new movies. But yeah, all this classic stuff, you couldn't see it. And so now you're seeing these pictures and stuff. I mean, if you're an artist back then, which a lot of people were, obviously, you know, you wanted to draw some of this stuff, you had it right here for you. You know, just like I said, you just wanted to relive an episode or see scenes from an episode. This is the only way to do it. You know, and then they talk, you know, and obviously there's an editorial to it too. So, wow, they're really hardcore on this. So I guess the first issue, and they're concentrating on Star Trek, but there's a lot of Star Trek in this first episode. I didn't know there's so many colored pages in this first issue too. I thought it was all black and white. There's Isaac Asimov, of course, obviously, one of the grandfathers of science fiction. He talks with Shatner. You know, Leonard Nimoy. I think it just goes through the main cast here. Oh no! Oh, is this okay? Oh, this is interesting. I didn't realize it. It's got a complete guide to Star Trek episodes. Huh. Well, that would have been nice to have back then. Especially now that, you know, you're going to be, it's '76 and they start airing this stuff. I mean, now you can actually, you know, tick them off. You know, it's like, did I see every episode? I don't know if I've seen every episode. Yeah, I'm not saying I am a Trekkie per se, but I love Star Trek. You know, and there's always the classic debate, which one's better, Star Wars or Star Trek? And I find them uncomparable because they're so different from each other. And again, for me, it's whatever I'm in the mood for. Sometimes I'm in the mood to see Shatner hamming it up, you know, and girls in really short skirts. Sometimes I'm really in the mood for, I'm usually always in the mood for the short skirt part, but, you know, or sometimes I want to see an entire world where there's only one female who doesn't have a short skirt on. Well, she does have a slave girl outfit eventually, but, you know, it's kind of, he said it's hard to compare the two. Oh, it's kind of crazy. I'm not going to go, there's Bionic Woman again. I'm not going to go through every one of these issues, but I just want to show you. So, as you notice here, the covers will pop up here. You know, like Space 1999. I mean, it shows you how it, you know, everything. It's pretty much a who's who or or Marvel Universe type of thing for all science fiction TV and cinema back in that day when it was huge. I mean, science fiction was huge in the 70s and then into the 80s, obviously. And there's a lot of stuff out. I mean, I would consider that the golden age of sci-fi. Um, and all of this, in this magazine was just, it was right there, as the playbook, calling every single shot. It was pretty cool, or covering every shot more so than calling a shot. But you had the $6 Million Man, Bionic Woman. You know, um, they talk about classic stuff, Destination or Highland. So in Star Wars, obviously, I'm assuming this is 1977. Yeah, when Star Wars came out, that's a classic cover. It's a classic image there, iconic. Most, as people say, of Star Wars, and that's when covered Star Wars and it came out. You've got the Ray Harryhausen's not Ray Harryhausen. That's not Ray Harryhausen. Who did that? I think it was like a cheap version of Harryhausen. Uh, Not Land of Forgotten Land or Land That Time Forgot. I can't remember what the name of that movie was. Um, you know, uh, and not only we got Logan's Run here, which I believe that's the TV show. Yeah, I watched that TV show recently on Tubi or whatever it was on, and it's very California in the late 70s. As I notice, a lot of these TV shows I'm watching, they all take place in Los Angeles, it seems like, and they all have the same people in them, and they're all very California-y people. Um, but here, classic TV shows. There, you've got Logan's Run. You got Linda Carter, Wonder Woman. I mean, it's I don't know what the Shatner thing is there. Maybe just an interview. What else we got here? George Powell. Wasn't George Powell in a song from the Rocky Horror Picture Show soundtrack? Oh, that's a soundtrack I need to get. It's the Rocky Horror Picture Show soundtrack. Um, is that Rick Baker? That's Rick Baker. Of course, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You name it. Like I said, because like in chronological order of what was coming out at the time. Obviously, a guy working on a matte painting from Empire. You got some stuff from The Silent Earth. They're talking about Buck Rogers. There's Galacticas in this. A lot of Galactica. A classic, like Forbidden Planet, classic stuff. Jules Verne's Time Machine, I think. The Maud and the what's Maud's real name? B. Arthur. B. Arthur and there's Athena. I'm sorry. B. Arthur in the Star Wars TV special. So it's right there in front of me. And for some reason, I can't think of it. I just gotta check this out. Is there Battlestar Galactica? They put Mara Jensen right on the cover. I'll see if there's some Mara Jensen in here. Oh, great movie. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Okay, Close Encounters. There's a Boris Vallejo book. Pearson Buck. Beady. Buck. That's Three Dog Night, baby. Aaron Gray, Jesus. And what's her face? I can't remember her name is. Queen Amidala, I can't remember her real name is. Oh, there she is. Yeah, Mara Jensen. Adama's daughter grows up. That's I have to read that article. I was so in love with Mara Jensen. Jeez, Maren Jensen. There she is. Yeah, she was my favorite on that show. I mean, obviously, like Starbuck and Apollo, and I love the Cylons. But as far as the girls, I was in love with this girl right here. Yeah, this is a nice big expose on her. I've seen some of these images before. Seen her in the Colonial Viper suit. These giant cell phones or whatever. The old remote controls to Quasar top-loading Betamax VCRs on her side or whatever those are. There she is in front of the Tandy. Yeah, I'll have to go back and read that article. I didn't know that was in here. I totally missed that. Seeing that thing. Oh yeah, there's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Oh yeah, the Lord of the Rings, the Bakshi Lord of the Rings. That was big. I remember seeing that in the theater with my dad and my sister, and my sister was all obsessed with this. She had the books. They're actually the books she had are sitting right on my bookshelf. Like I said, I've commandeered them. Oh yeah, there's the Christmas special. Okay. Like I said, saw Marin Jensen, and I got sidetracked, so I just wanted to check that out. So yeah, Superman movie when it came out. More Buck Rogers. The movie. Yep. Because remember, it started as a movie first. I got to do a Buck Rogers episode at some point too. I did my Battlestar Galactica. I had to do a Buck. And Moonraker, and there's some Alien there. I mean, it's just, God, movies were awesome back then, and especially sci-fi. I mean, and that's what I grew up on. I mean, that was right at the perfect age to catch all of this stuff as it was fresh and new. And I just loved it all. I loved that Battlestar Galactica episode with that crazy thing that was chasing after him. Yeah, that's really cool there too. That's the Dracona, I think was called, the Draconian warship for Queen Adala. That's the model for it. I want to see if they show the model of that. I really loved this. I love that model, and that looks really clear. There's gill shaven. Like I said this. I mean, exactly what I'm looking for is this. It was just filled with stuff, articles, pictures. Does that look familiar right there? The visual encyclopedia of science fiction. The visual encyclopedia of science fiction right there. Got it. I got a good copy of it too. I got this about 20 years ago. Off of I don't even think it was eBay. I think I got this at Classic Books down on Woodward there in Royal Oak. Good book. And it's funny. This book was written in 1977 or 78, and it stops with Star Wars. I mean, it pretty much goes, and it pretty much. It's like, that was like, okay, well, all the stuff had happened, since Mary Shelley's Frankenstein all the way up to Star Wars. That's the newest thing. And that's what they kind of stop at. It's pretty funny. Yeah, there's an ad for it. What else we got here? What was I looking for? Looking for that. Okay, here's the Buck Rogers stuff. See if they show that model. Oh, Amidala. Keep calling her Amidala. Queen Adala. Well, I think it was a real name. I knew it and I totally slipped my mind. Ardala, not Adala. I'm thinking of Adama. Queen Ardala. Yes, that's her name. And I show her. I can't remember her name is. It's funny too. Every day I've been pouring through. Every time I sit down to eat dinner, I've been pouring through. It's a Living on Tubi. I've been watching all the It's a Living episodes. I don't know why, but I'm obsessed with Dot on there. But I'm only on season 2 right now. But it's funny, the hotel restaurant that they work at on that show, it was from 1980, that's I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's a hotel right there in Los Angeles. And it kind of looks like our Renaissance Center from downtown Detroit. Same architect, I believe. But it's funny because they show it's the city of the future, and they show it a bunch of times in Buck Rogers. It's the main place in It's a Living. There's a movie with Daphne whatever, Queen Vespa from Spaceballs, whatever her real name is. She's in a movie from the 80s, like one of those, kind of 80s young rite of passage movies. And I believe, yeah, and they go into town and there's a shot and they're going down the same street. This hotel's and everything. They also do some shots inside the hotel of this mall. I could never go in this building. I'm deathly afraid of heights. I've gotten to the point where, I don't know if anybody's been to Lakeside Mall, but it's just like any other two-story mall. As a kid, I'd go up and down the escalators, not a care in the world. I'd go stand and put my face in front of the glass to look at the second level. Not a care in the world, nothing. I don't know what it is, but my old age, as I get older, I developed a fear of heights that's so debilitating that I can't even go in Lakeside Mall. I can't even go into a two-story mall without getting nervous. I can't even go on the second floor of a place that has like a balcony or whatnot or anything like that without my palms just start sweating and I just get vertigo and I just like, I'm just like, and I like feel myself being pushed over the edge. Like I feel like I want to throw myself off the edge. And I can't take it anymore. So I could never. I went into the Renaissance Center and rode the elevator up to the revolving restaurant in the main tower. I did that back in high school, and it scared me then. I was like, oh, I don't like this. I gotta get out of here. I'm standing like up against the wall of it, and hoping people stand in front of me, just like kind of like hiding from it. And they have an elevator like this. This one building's not as tall as the Brensen, but it's the same. They say same architect, so it's the same architecture. And yeah, there's a mall in there that's like a 5 or 8 story mall, and they have these like sitting areas on this like pillar that they're from every level. There's a little couch sitting area. In the back of the couch is look over and it drops. It's like forget that. There's no way in hell you're gonna get me in there. So it's just funny every time. I get kind of, my hands are sweating right now just thinking about it, just seeing a picture of it, and all I can see is just the background, and I can see Aaron Gray's stuff through that outfit. Holy moly! I tell you, that would have been a thing to see in this magazine back in the day. Let's see here. What else we got? Does this go into... Oh, that crazy looking thing. It's going into Battlestar. Oh, the hell was that thing? Looks familiar. Ooh, that crazy looking guy. Is that the body of it? And then that's the crazy fro that thing had? The Supreme Intelligence or the whatever, Supreme Command. That thing, yeah, from... That thing is so crazy looking. Ah! I want to go cosplay it at San Diego Comic-Con, and I want to be that thing. The thing is so crazy looking. But yeah, like I said, I was on to see if they had that model. Oh, jeez, man, this magazine was like Playboy. all my crushes all together in one book. Yeah, man, she is something else too. Oh, there he is. There's Lou, Incredible Hulk. Like I said, that was going on right at the same time. Watched it religiously. Okay, well here's Buck and models. Okay, there's the model of the last of the colonial, or the last of deep space probes. Buck ship. The year is 1987. NASA launches the last of its deep space probes. Really? In 97? Boomer. I was hoping to show a picture of that model. I don't see it. It's on the cover. Like I said, it's on the cover. It's pretty sweet looking. What are these? Original hand-painted cells. Oh, wow, they're selling cells from... Oh, yeah, Super Friends, that Batman TV show. Looks like Fat Albert, Tarzan, the Archies. Gotta crane my head sideways, look at all these. Looks like you got some Star Trek there. That's pretty cool. How much do they have prices on them? Send away for $19.95. Probably not. So yeah, where was that issue? Yeah, like I said, I wanted to see a better close-up of that. I mean, I guess I can blow that image up, but just curious. Check on the time, too. So, yeah, Star Trek the Motion Picture, again, still scares the shit out of me. Black Hole, I'm like, boom, 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 one after another. All the classic stuff. I got the storybook, The Black Hole, over there. I need to get the rest of the Black Hole stuff. Yeah, it's just, Saturn, is it Saturn 5 or Saturn 3? Saturn 3. I just watched that like a couple of years ago. It's not a bad movie. It's all about Kirk Douglas and Farrah Fawcett, being Farrah Fawcett running around. And then Harvey Keitel's in it as the bad guy. More Buck. You got some snowtrooper action on this. I mean, like I said, this magazine was just, it was the shit. And it was the bee's knees, the shiznit, whatever you want to call it. Man, they're Alien, Doctor Who with Tom Baker, my favorite Doctor Who. More Empire, more Close Encounters, more Buck. Oh yeah, Mork and Mindy, Hulk, Battlestar Galactica, and Buck. I mean, those 4 TV shows I used to watch religiously. I'm never going to do a Mork and Mindy story, so I'll tell you this. Actually, I think I might have told it to you in a video before when I saw Pam Dalber at the Royal Oak Beaumont Hospital in Royal Oak, Michigan. Her mother was in the hospital, and I went to my dad. Just happened to go with my dad that day to work for this bring your kids to work day thing, and she was there, and I went up and talked to her. I went up and asked her, and I was a kid. I was like, "Are you Mindy?" Yes, I am. It was my Pam Dalber story. And more Jedi, or not Jedi. Okay, so here we go. Speaking of the devil, speaking of Flash, I had this physical copy. Yeah, this copy sat near my toilet for a long time. Definitely, if this thing had a nose, where is it? All right, there. Let's take a look at it real quick, because I know there's something I want to point out in here that's. I also remember I have another story about. Yeah, so this goes into the Flash Gordon movie. Like I said, I'll go into more depth on Flash Gordon when it comes. Oh, and a model paperweight? Oh, okay. The Popeye. I saw the Popeye movie. My mom dropped me off at Till's Theater. I saw the Winchester Mall, and saw the Popeye movie with Robin Williams. I saw that in the theater by myself. Heavy Metal magazine. That's one of the other quintessential magazines from the 80s I need to talk about is Heavy Metal. I'll do a Heavy Metal episode eventually. I was hoping to get a few copies. I got some sitting in my thrifts book wish list. Some key issues that I had and want to get again. Oh God. All right, I'll probably won't shut up about this when I do my Flash Gordon video, so be prepared for that. Oh my God, I was obsessed with her. Or Nella Muti. Princess, or another princess. I must have a thing for princesses. But oh my lord, she was beautiful. It's funny because there was an interview with a bunch of the cast like a few years ago from a convention, a panel, and the one guy who plays one of the Timothy Dalton's guys, the Baron, one of his cronies or whatever, plays like the young crony kid. He's like, oh, I love being in that movie. He goes, I just wanted a reason to be near an Ornella Muti. Totally, right there with you, buddy. Right there with you. There's Flash himself right there, or whatever his name is. I did watch that documentary about like what happened after Flash. It was kind of interesting, depressing, but interesting. There's some scenes from Flash. Like I said, I had this magazine. I've sat on the toilet and looked at this magazine a lot, so I pretty much know it through and through. Of course, I haven't looked at it in a long time, so always things sometimes. Oh yeah, that Starstruck. I had this graphic novel. This graphic novel called Starstruck, and I remember they're doing a musical for it. It was kind of weird. It was odd. Escape from New York. Great movie. again, I mean, they hit all of the you talk of. They've got everything in here. Some model work for Alien. Another one of Stella Star, Carolyn Monroe, Star Crash. Another one of my crushes. I really like the dark-haired girls. I mean, I like some blondes too, but the dark-haired ones are really the ones that I like the most. UFO. Oh god, these masks. These Don Post masks. I wanted these so bad. You know, I'm not even gonna say as a kid. I wanted them as an adult. But as you can see, look at this. This is 81 or whatever, probably, because they're talking about those shows. Yeah, actually, this is 80. This is when Flash Gordon came out in 1980. Darth Vader mask, $50. You know, I mean, in 1980, the Millennium Falcon toy was like $35. You know, so you get the Millennium Falcon. You could get you get a lot of stuff for $50 back in 1980. That mask is $50, and that's not the most expensive one. You get the Chewbacca one, $65. I mean, that's just crazy prices. I mean, these are really nice masks. Don't get me wrong. Probably very uncomfortable to wear, but even that 3CPO one, 3CPO mask is the same price as what do you call it? Getting a Millennium Falcon toy. That's crazy. Sorry, it's afternoon. Here we go then. You know, you got the Bith characters there, Tusken Raiders. Yeah, I always looked at these masks. You know, the Don Post masks here are pretty cool, but and there's another magazine I should talk about, and I think I've got all of those too on PDF or CBR, is Fangora. Fangora magazine. I mean, I'm more of a science fiction person than a horror, but I did like my horror, and that Fangora was a magazine that was like a rite of passage. It was like a dare. Like, you know, I mean, you'd see it on the shelf and tell your buddy, hey, go look at Fangora. No, I don't want to go look at it. You go look at it. I'm not going to go look at it. And then you'd sneak up, and it's almost like you're sneaking up there to get a Hustler magazine. You're just like, I'm going to go up there and look at the Fangora. You open the page, and there's just somebody just torn to pieces. You're just like, oh my god! You drop the magazine, and you run off screaming. That's just the way it was back then. But the Fangora magazine had a lot of really cool masks. A lot crazier. Like ones with like parts, or like, you know, guys growing out of guys and stuff like that. Pretty crazy stuff. You know, I like Dale. The girl played Dale. I thought she was attractive. But nothing compared to her. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, when she's all locked down on that table and getting whipped. Sorry, I won't go there. But anyways, yeah, Ornella Moody was something else in that movie. Yeah, I think she's an Italian actress. I think she was in a bunch of Italian movies. I never saw anything else she was in, but whew, she was something else. What was I looking for in here? Was that Cat People? Oh no, it's just stuff on 3D. Okay, I thought it was Cat People for a minute. But there was a movie, I remember going through this magazine, and it took me like, and I'm talking about looking at this magazine in like 90, 87, 88, and I'm just like, and I totally forgot about this movie and this whole experience I had. Oh, where was it? I know it was in here. Just a little picture, but it just took me a second. Once I figured out what I was looking at, I was like, oh, that's the movie. And of course, they tell the title, and it's like, that's what the movie was called. And, where is it? I know it's in here. It was like a picture like this, but I think it was color. And for the longest time, I wanted to know what that movie was. I'm sure this was, I thought I knew this magazine, like the back of my hand. But I couldn't remember. It's almost like, did I dream seeing this movie? So there was a science fiction movie that was out in... I watched that on television. If you remember what's on was like pre-cable, cable, and we had it like in 1980, 81, and you could watch. It wasn't in this magazine. That's crazy. I could have sworn it was like a little picture in the corner or whatever in this particular magazine. Maybe not. There's another Starlog. Um, but no, I watched this crazy movie, and it had Robert Vaughn in it, and it was about aliens abducting people. There's this crazy scene in the beginning of the movie. This farmer who gets abducted off his tractor, and he goes in this room, and it's very 70s. It's very like quasi X-rated, like almost porn movie, and like there's this woman, and it's shot from behind, so her butt's like right in the camera, and she's got like this like almost dominatrix outfit on, or something kind of like I can't remember what she was wearing. She had not a thong per se, but she had 70s dominatrix lingerie, which is pretty conservative compared to what people wear today. But anyways, so she had that on, and it's like she was going to breed with them, right? And it's like, oh, as a kid, I was like, oh, what's going on here? And there's this other girl running around, and her legs hanging out, and then Christopher, what's his name? Who's I'm asking you like you can answer me. Who's Christopher Lee? Yeah, Christopher Lee was in it, and they had like these crazy weird hats and everything like that. And then of course I've come to realize it's a movie called Starship Invasion, and then I was actually I couldn't track it out for the longest time. When I finally tracked it down, I was like, yep, that's the movie. And one of those movies, I think my sister and my dad were downstairs playing pool in the basement. I was upstairs watching on television, and I was hoping I'd see more good stuff, and I'm hoping that they wouldn't come upstairs and catch me watching this science fiction movie. But Star Trek 2. I think that's still Star Trek 1. Or is it Star Trek 2? That's Star Trek 1, I think. Still. No, it might be 2. Scanners. Saw that in the theater with my sister, and I was like, oh my god, the guy's head exploded. Altered State. That was that movie. Oh my goodness. I saw that as a kid. We saw that. It was on television. It was edited because there was some nudity in the original. But outside of that, they really didn't edit all the... That wasn't the creepy scenes. All the crazy scenes, like that scene down there in the corner. That was a freaky movie as a kid. That was one of those ones that just like totally gave me nightmares. Shouldn't have been watching it, but I watched all this stuff. Altered State was one of still gives me kind of goosebumps watching it today. There's Hawk, season 2 of Buck. Tom Christopher. It's also on. He was Poseidon on. Is it not Days of Our Lives? Was it Days of Our Life? No. It was in General Hospital. One of the other soap operas, he was Poseidon. He was like this bad guy. I saw this with my sister. Had the action figures. I would love to have those. That Kraken, though, he goes for a ton of money. But yeah, I love this movie. My sister took me to see this movie at Winchester Mall again. This must be 1981. And I was just blown away by that movie. I loved what do you call it? Clash of the Titans. As my friend down the street, whenever we'd play with our toys and stuff. I want to be Clash. Let me be Clash. His name's not Clash. His name's Perseus. Why is the movie called Clash of the Titans? Because it's a clash. Now I sound like the kid with the models. This kid was younger than me, but yeah, he would not believe me that his name wasn't Clash. I'm like, okay, well that makes no sense. So I got in arguments with those kids. Things little kids would argue about. It was Perseus. But yeah, I loved that movie. Loved that movie. And I had the toys, I had the Kraken. Oh my goodness, that stuff's good stuff. There's Superman 2. Yeah, so that must have been Wrath of Khan. Because there's it came out the same year as Superman 2. Oh, Superman! Sorry, I'm going to do my best Sarah Douglas. Oh, Superman! Rest in peace, Sarah Douglas. But yeah, I love that. Even though it was corny, I still love that movie. Oh, there you go. Heavy metal movie. Yeah, this is... Well, that actually came out in 81. I'll do a heavy metal movie video, and I'm also going to do a rock and roll movie, and they came out very similar to each other, and there's a funny instance with my dad taking my friends to see this movie. I think it was a birthday too. Um, yeah, we got Escape New York, some more Bond. There's Boba. Oh, Outland too. Outland was a weird movie. It was like, is this supposed to be a science fiction? Well, it takes place in space. It's science fiction-y with Sean Connery. It had a cool look to it. And I didn't know what it was, but I was talking to my friend. This is back in the 90s, and I said, what is it with the movies like Alien, or there's this movie called Outland. A lot of these movies at a certain time period, they all have the same look to them. Why do they have this? Especially if they're science fiction. And I think what we came up with was the fact that they're all 70 millimeter movies. And 70 millimeter film has a certain grain to it, which looks really cool, I think. You know, obviously everything's shot digitally nowadays, so they have to emulate that. But the 70 millimeter film with all those like science fiction, all those grates and everything is very Alien, obviously. But the story, I didn't care for the movie. It was just kind of boring. It was like he's like a cop on a refining ship, and people are murdering. This guy's murdering. It's like a Jack the Ripper thing. He's like murdering women, and he's like after him. It's really a boring movie, but it looks really cool. It looks amazing. It's Kasdan right there. Blade Runner. The Powers of Matthew Starr. Oh, heart beeps. Oh, I better start reining this in here. Heart beeps. My dad just looks at me. That was one of the movies he stayed through the whole movie. He was dying to leave and walk out of, but he didn't want to waste his money. And he said to me after walking out of the movie, he goes, Tim, that's the stupidest movie I've ever seen. Would you quit taking me to wanting to go see these really stupid movies? If you want to see these stupid movies, I'll drop you off and you can watch them, but I can't sit through these. They're terrible. My dad he liked what he liked, and there it is again, heart beeps. It was a really bad movie. But I just thought, this robot people, I want to see it. I'm a kid. It's all pancake heads to me. Greatest American Hero. Boom, bam, bam. There's a double punch right there. Time Bandits and Quest for Fire. Rae Dawn Chong in that movie. Holy moly. She was something else in that movie. The Chong. Tommy Chong's daughter. I remember watching... Quest for Fire is the one I watched on television. And my dad, maybe you should be watching this movie. Why not? It's cool. They're eating people and they're doing other things to people that maybe I shouldn't have been seeing. But Rae Dawn Chong, whew. But Time Bandits, saw that in the theater by myself. Dad didn't want to sit through it. Don't touch it, Mom, Dad, don't touch it, see? Return, what you have stolen. Sorry, can't stop quoting that movie. That's a great movie. And of course that guy played Zark in Tron. I can't remember what his name is. He just died not that long ago. What do we got here? What's the kind of date? It's February, but it still isn't. I think it's 80. I think we're in 83. It should be. Or it's still maybe 82. Megaforce. Oh god, there's scenes from the making of Megaforce. I love that movie. That's a terrible movie. I missed the riff tracks version. That's hilarious, but I love Megaforce. Blade Runner, obviously. Conan, obviously. And so there was some fantasy stuff in here, too. It wasn't just science fiction. It was all kind of the same thing. Science fiction, toys, and games. It's, when that stuff started to get popular. There's Wrath of Khan. Tron, I was just talking about Tron. I did all that Tron stuff. People probably look, if they tune into the video right now, they're like, oh god, he's talking about Tron again. I'm not that obsessed with Tron. Just, I had a lot of Tron stuff to talk about. I had that issue. I actually had the Tron issue. I had a bunch of issues we passed up. I had them. Dark Crystal, that was the movie. Was that the movie that broke my dad? That was the movie I think that broke my dad. So we must have saw Heartbeats already, and he stayed for the whole thing. So this was the movie. We went to see it at Winchester Mall, at the cinema at Winchester Mall once it came out, and I sort of liked it. I don't know, the puppets thing to me was kind of I was kind of on the fence on this while I was watching. I was like, I kind of liked it, but didn't like it. And then my dad was like, was looking at me, and he's like, I mean, he's just like huffing and puffing in his seat and getting restless and switching sides and stuff. And he's like, I gotta go, Tim. He's like, I gotta get up and go walk around. I can't sit and watch these type of movies. He says, I'm gonna get. I goes, when you're done watching it, I'll meet you outside in the front of the theater because, but I can't take this anymore. So he took off out of the theater. He couldn't take it anymore. Um, Superman 3. There's more. Okay, now we're into 83. Now we're into Jedi. Let's see. I want to kind of. Oh, we're right at an hour. All right, let's kind of. I can always come back to Starlog if people care. If nobody watches this video, then obviously I know nobody cares about Starlog magazine. But like I said, the RoboCop. I mean, it goes all through the 80s. I don't. In Star Trek: Next Generation, Back to the Future, you name it. Batman, 89 Batman Keaton, the Keaton with Pfeiffer. Time Cop. I mean, we're into the 90s now. The Joel Schumacher Batmans, as terrible as they were. Mars Attacks. So it definitely goes into the 90s. I'm just curious, before I let you go here, I want to see what... Oh, wow, episode 1. So we're into 99. I'm just wondering, when did Starlog stop? Farscape, Enterprise, Harry Potter. Okay, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, we're into the 2000s. Tomb Raider, Alien vs. Predator, Ghost Rider, so we're kind of into the Marvel movies. There's the Spider-Man. Oh, wow, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? I went that far? I didn't know Starlog went that far. So that must be, let's see what this is the last episode. Monsters vs. Aliens. Wow, that's got to be like 2008, 2009? Let's see, so it went 374 issues. I'm just curious to see what the date is on this. 2009, yeah, I was right. So, yeah, so that was the last. So it went from 1976 to 2009. So it pretty much talks about everything. Everything good. You know, I mean, there's been a couple of good things came out in the teens, but by and large, I think movies in the last 10 years have just sucked. So it's pretty much the end of the... maybe that's why they stopped. So like, you know what? All the movies suck now, so we're going to stop. But anyways, but it covers everything. I mean, you name it. It covers every possible thing in those genres. And I loved it. I didn't read it or look through it or get it or buy it that much. I didn't always buy it. Sometimes I would just sit... I would go to a couple of different things. I would either go to the grocery store with my mom and just plunk myself in front of the magazine rack, and I'd grab Starlog, Dragon, I'd grab Wrestling Illustrated. They didn't have heavy metal. I don't think that Dragon at the grocery store. I grabbed about 3 or 4 magazines of the time, and I would just sit there and I'd pour through Fangora when I was, finally got the balls to look through Fangora. Yeah, I just look through those. Or if I go to Fireside Book, lots of Fireside book trips in Winchester Mall up there, and just going and spending like an hour in that store just looking through these magazines, reading some of the articles here and there, mostly looking at the pictures. And then I guess I don't need to buy it now. I've looked at it. It's like, that was the internet back then. That was the internet, If you bought it and took it home with you, whatever. Some issues I would like and I would buy and take home with me. They weren't super expensive, like $4 or something at the time, $5. No, $4, I think. But, yeah. I would say this is probably one of the quintessentials, if not the quintessential magazine of the 80s for me. So, I just wanted to share that with you. Like I said, people either may not know what it is because it stopped in 2009. It's almost been 20 years since the last issue. So it's definitely, I think, out of the modern, especially young people's conscience, if it ever was there at all. I mean, you'd have to be probably tail end of the millennials, probably, to remember this. I don't think any of the Zennial generation would remember any of this, or generation, whatever it is, after the millennials. But yeah, so I just wanted to share my Starlog with you there, or share Starlog magazine. I said I don't have any copies. I need to get some, but who knows? I don't have to have these. But some of them I wouldn't mind having. Otherwise, I can look, if I want to sit down, I can put all these on my, actually they are all on my tablet on a little chip, and I sit there and I can pull them all up on my tablet and read them whenever I want. But I like having physical media better, so. Alright, tomorrow, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I might have everything in time to do. I want to read these too, so I probably won't do that. I might have all the Flash Gordon stuff, maybe not. And I'll do the Flash Gordon episode. Other than that, I'm sure, like I said, I could talk about some of the other magazines, but again, I kind of want to break them up. I haven't talked about any comics in a while. I haven't done the Inferno episode yet. I'm going to wait on that one because I haven't gone back and did not read it again yet. So I'm not going to do the Inferno episode until I do that. But all right, let's not get this video going too much longer here. Now that all my videos seem to be about an hour and 5 minutes, and most people probably stick around for about 5 minutes of it and take off. Where'd my thingy jobber go? Here it is. Okay. All right. Well, I will talk to you later. Until then, take care. Oh, remember to subscribe. Bye-bye.